Hello, everyone. Welcome to Youth Bombs. I'm Carson,
I'm David.
and we're the voice of young conservatives in Alachua County. Last weekend, Super Bowl Sunday, Kendrick Lamar actually hosted the halftime show, and that has a lot of conservatives angry. A lot of them are saying, in my opinion, pretty derogatory stuff. A lot of them are saying he did, it's a DEI halftime show, which is funny because I think Kendrick is definitely where he is on his merits. They're saying rap music isn't real music. They're saying I cannot understand a word he's saying. So there are, varying levels of validity to these different things. But David, what did you think of the performance?
Yeah, I thought I like the nice like there was patriotism in the halftime show. Like you see Uncle Sam and then the American flag. It showed like the beauty of America, but from like a different way. Because Kendrick Lamar is a sort of an activist. A lot of his music is activism work, and it was just kind of cool to see that part of American history in the halftime show. Like the revolution is starting now. Like a lot of his music is very hype music and about the revolution. But to be honest, I don't think it may have been the best way to go to put Kendrick on the Super Bowl, seeing as how your average American really doesn't know that many Kendrick songs. I mean, you're looking at the 50-year-olds, the 60-year-olds, the 7-year-olds, the 40-year-olds guys who are watching the Super Bowl. They'd probably have a better time with, I don't know, like a band like Creed or like an actual band and some guy rapping really fast to songs they don't know. A lot of his songs are from his latest album, GNX, not even his most popular songs.
Yeah, although I would say GNX is like his most successful album to date. I think it's even more successful than Damn.
Drake just released an album in Valentine's Day he released an album and it got more views in one day than GNX has gotten.
I think GNX got more streams, but yeah, I think it was like they were pretty comparable. But anyway, I think generally speaking, I agree with you. I'm inclined to agree with you. I think like there are very few rappers who could actually host a halftime show, and like most people would know their music. I think like the two that I would name are Eminem and then pre-Insanity Kanye. I think both of them could probably host a halftime show and like have no problem. I think Kendrick is like he's not a niche artist by any stretch. Like all of his albums have debuted at number one. He has several number one hits, several top 10 hits. He's like, I think maybe not the average person knows a lot of his songs, but like the average person has probably heard a song by Kendrick Lamar. Humble is a big song. All the Stars is a huge song. Pray for Me. So there's a lot of stuff. Most people probably know a song by Kendrick. That doesn't mean they know Kendrick by name though.
True, but like a Kanye halftime show with a bunch of Kanye songs. Crazy. All the crowd would be going and singing along.
And Kanye just has so many songs that the average person knows, Flashing Lights, All Falls Down, Good Morning, Power, yeah. So there's so much you could do with the Kanye halftime show. Too bad it didn't happen before he went insane. But yeah, so I want to like diverge a little bit though from the discussion about like Kendrick's halftime show or Kendrick as the performer, and more to talk about the halftime show, because I think like it was a lot of interesting messaging that I don't necessarily agree with, but I think we have to be able to acknowledge is interesting.
Yeah.
Like just because we disagree with art doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. And there's a lot of for instance, there's a lot of shows out there or video games or movies that have a fundamentally anti-capitalist message, and that does not mean I don't watch them or I can't acknowledge the artistry in them. It just means that above all else, I'm going to see this, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to recognize I disagree with this, but it's still good. I disagree with this, but it communicates a message effectively and well, and it is artistic, even though I disagree with this. And I think a lot of people online are failing to do that, where it's like Kendrick's performance had a lot of things I disagree with. They at one point in the show, they create an American flag, and they hunch over to say that Black Americans built this country, essentially. And I'm like, yeah, I disagree with that. I'm not gonna, obviously I don't disagree with it completely. There's elements of truth in there, but generally I disagree with it. But it doesn't change the fact that it's still artistic. It's still a cool way to express a message that's already been expressed, 100 times over. So I don't know. What did you think about that?
Oh yeah, I mean, before I talk about like the show, I just want to take the time to get knowledge like what a true talented performer Kendrick is, because the breath work was insane.
Yeah.
Like that takes a lot of time, and he was definitely training for that Super Bowl performance. But yeah, I do agree. It's nice to take in like that perspective, especially that cultural perspective from Black history and from just a lot of like Black activism in the Super Bowl. Now, I know I sound kind of woke, but I'm really not. But like just today, I had a church service, and I went to a Catholic church here, St. Augustine, and there was a Black History Month service. and there was like a black choir, and there were black priests, and the black choirs were singing like Catholic songs, Christian songs, but like in like the traditional African American way, which was different. It was nice, and it wasn't heresy at all. It was just nice to see a different culture and different perspective. And then after mass, we had African food too, and it was just nice. It's always good to look outside your own perspective, and it's just I did like seeing the black activism perspective. Although I'm definitely not an activist or a social justice warrior or anything like that. It's good to look at other people's perspectives and acknowledge that although not just Black Americans, built America, there were definitely like America would be so much different if it weren't for a lot of African Americans that truly shaped the way that the U.S. is, and especially like same goes for every race, like the white race, the Asian race, the Hispanic race. Yeah, you have a lot of really great people. A lot of these people just came to America and formed this melting pot, and you have all these different perspectives and cultures that made this country what it was. And that's what made this country so great so fast. Because if you look at like European countries, if you look at just other countries where they stayed ethnically the same and they weren't able to take in a diversity of opinions, people with different perspectives from other countries, they weren't melting pots. They didn't succeed as fast as America did. We've only been here for what, 250 years around that, and we're already the greatest country in the entire world. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like it's funny because that used to be a sentiment that was so strongly shared by conservatives. Like the Reagan quote that I always like to reference is, America's the shining city on the hill, and we have always been what people from all across the world look up to as, incredible standard for what a country can be and what a people can be. And I just, now it's being demonized. Like you can be, frankly, an older guy and probably not know a lot of Kendrick Lamar's music, but still say, hey, there's merit here. He got where he is. I believe he grew up in poverty and he worked his way up. So like he got where he is based on merit. He's a good performer. They clearly do not know, like you mentioned, the breath control, the amount of work that takes. So it's like you can say whatever you want about whether he is, popular enough to be the Super Bowl halftime show performer, but like you can't say that he didn't get here from some sort of merit or that there's no merit to any of what he says or that kind of thing. I might disagree with it, but there's merit there.
Yeah, that's true, but I feel like the halftime show should be for the audience and for the fans. Like when you see the Michael Jackson halftime show?
Yeah, I've
seen how crazy that went. The Prince halftime show? Like these are just stuff that unifies everybody and everybody knows their songs. And you do have, generational artists like that. I would even put Creed up there. And like there's just like, I feel like we could have gone a couple of better options than putting a rapper who the only song that really everybody knew was Not Like Us. Mm-hmm. And all the other songs, a lot of people didn't know. And if they did know it, and if they did recognize Humble, which is a pretty popular song, they definitely couldn't rap along to it because a lot of people don't know the lyrics.
Yeah, and I mean everyone knows the chorus, but yeah. It's a very simple chorus. But yeah, I agree with you. I even like think for a more recent example, Rihanna did it 2 years ago. I think Rihanna did a great job. That's like an iconic performance. It's one of the most viewed ones on YouTube. And I think it's like, I think Rihanna is a cultural figure where we can all agree Rihanna has like the star power, even after not having released an album, I think for like 8-9 years now. She has the star power to do a Super Bowl halftime show. She has the songs that everyone knows.
Shakira as well.
Yeah, Shakira did
Bruno
it.
Mars.
Bruno Mars. Like Lady Gaga did it. Katy Perry did it. So there's a lot of people, and I just don't think that like overall Kendrick Lamar is at that level that they are. Mm-hmm. I liked the show. Frankly, I disagree with people who are saying it was a bad show, but is he the guy to do that? Like I said, Eminem and Kanye West before he was crazy. Those are the two that could do a halftime show that are rappers.
Maybe even Drake.
Drake probably could. I'm not sure if he would, but like Drake has a lot of hits. So yeah, I would agree. I don't know if Kendrick is just like, maybe in like 10 years he could be. He's clearly like hitting a peak of his career. So if he's able to maintain this momentum, maybe he could be. But right now, most people know, you said Not Like Us. I would also add probably most people know All the Stars. I know Luther's very popular right now, but it's also new, so I'm not going to give it that. And I would say most people also know Humble. Mm-hmm. Those are like the three. He doesn't have the collection of songs that like, Rihanna did, or a few years ago, even Maroon 5 did it, mm-hmm. or, a bunch of other people. So like Shakira and Jennifer Lopez did it. I just like, he doesn't. Sadly, he just doesn't.
But I do appreciate how he was able to stay away from the political messaging, and because like we all know he doesn't like Trump. Mm. In one of his songs, and I forgot that new album about family.
Mr. Morale.
Mr. Morale,
Yeah.
and Mr. Morale, like he explicitly called out Trump in one of the songs, and he didn't call out Trump or really do anything explicitly political.
I think he actually had a lot of political messaging, but I would,
Like what the revolution.
yeah, I would say specifically with Samuel L. Jackson and like him being dressed up as Uncle Sam. I think it was like kind of a commentary on what they want Black Americans to perform to be. So like he goes back and forth like, no, that music's too ghetto. You can't play that. Like he plays, a few hip hop songs, and he says that's too ghetto. You can't play that. And then he brings SZA up, and SZA and him do this more melodic music, and then he's like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. And then you hear the beat from Not Like Us come on, and he's like, oh no, you don't. And it's kind of like a back and forth that he has. So I would actually say there was a good amount of political messaging in there.
I would agree, but like what I meant was like there wasn't explicitly like anti-Trump or like anything that
it wasn't on the nose. That's for sure.
Nothing that would divide the country. So and he could have sparked some division there, but he didn't. Like, he just showed us an interesting perspective.
Yeah. It's like it's something that you can even agree with as a conservative, or maybe not completely agree with, but you can like understand. It's not something that is going to divide the country. You're right. So I think that is a good note. Although I would say it's also kind of like generally I don't think the Super Bowl halftime show performers have divided the country. I would be kind of sad if they had. But for Kendrick, who's like an expressly political artist, I can see how that's a good overall, a good bar to set, I guess. But yeah, I just thought overall, all these people are attacking the show, and like specifically from the political angle, like all the people attacking the show, I feel like they're just out of touch. I feel like you can attack the show like we have, which is maybe Kendrick isn't the right guy to do a performance, but a lot of the people are attacking it because they're just saying rap music isn't music, or this is degenerate, or I can't understand what he's saying. Like, I think if you can't understand what he's saying, even in Not Like Us, I think that might be a sign that like you're not up to date with the culture, and you don't have to be. You don't have to be the culture guy. A lot of them are expressly political, and that's fine. But don't say that like nobody likes this or there's no merit to this at all. Like, no, it's factually just not true.
I'm actually not a fan of rap. I don't like rap in general. I don't think the contributions it's made to society has been good. I think it's kept a lot of people down. It glorifies gangsters, and it glorifies promiscuity. It glorifies just like drugs. That's mainly how it started, like with Tupac and Eazy-E. And then ever since then, you've seen younger people going down, like taking more drugs. We have like a lot of gangs now. A lot of young people are inclined to join these gangs, and because when you hear like people say these things out loud, like people talk about, oh, it's really cool to be gangster, and I get to live this great life with all this money and all this women, and I just shoot my opposition. You might be kind of inclined to when you're hearing it 24/7. It's like you are what you eat. Well, you also you are what you hear too. What you hear, you consume, and you can imbibe that, and you can even live the lifestyle that you hear. That's why I personally I try to listen to music that I would sort of like to imbibe, like Elvis or Billy Joel or Christian music. But I don't like rap. What do you think of it, Carson?
I guess I think there's a lot of messaging deeper than just the surface when it comes to hip hop. I don't think all of it is necessarily glorification. I think actually a lot of it, especially I'm not personally an expert on hip hop history, but I think from what I listen to, a lot of it isn't glorification, but it's more so like saying this is the life we live. And it's not good. Like one artist I actually really admire, who's not actually rap, but he's almost adjacent to hip hop. But it's The Weeknd. The Weeknd in his earlier music, especially, he says, we party, we have promiscuous sex, we do crazy amounts of drugs and that kind of thing. But like, there's this really melancholic tone to his music because he's saying we do all of this stuff and it's not good for us. It is bad. We shouldn't be doing this, but we do it anyway. And it's kind of, that's kind of the theme of his music. And so I think that generally, like, if and there is music, and there are artists who do this, where they're just like saying, yeah, we do this and we do that and it's good and we should keep doing it and there's no reason why we shouldn't, Yeah, I'd agree, that's bad. But I think generally, beneath the surface, it's not necessarily always glorifying that. I think, especially with Kendrick, too. Ironically enough, for the guy they're criticizing so much, he's, like, pretty anti-gangster. Like, he has a lot of, like, songs about how bad it is to fall into gang culture and that kind of thing.
Why is he crip walking then? He was crip walking the halftime show. He constantly crip walks, and he had Serena Williams out there crip walking, even though her sister died like 15 years ago because she got shot up by the gang, the Crips, and she was out there crip walking in order to try to diss her ex Drake.
I'm not 100% certain about that, although I think it's definitely a part of African American culture separate from the gang. Like, I think there are a lot of things that have negative influences that start them.
I think it was rap that was a negative influence.
I'm saying generally the dance or the crip walking. I think that it has a negative influence attached to it, but I don't think it's necessarily inherently attached to that negative influence forever. But I guess. I don't know, any closing thoughts?
Although I may not like rap, and I may think that it's contributed to a lot of things that I would call the downfall of society, and I wouldn't really listen to it. I do like to listen to some Christian rap like Forrest Frank, but I generally don't really listen to rap. I can acknowledge that Kendrick Lamar, he does bring a different perspective into it. Not all rap is about drugs and degeneracy. There is some rap that, like, Kendrick does rap about activism, and Christian rap does exist out there. I just think that the way rap started was originally about murdering gangs. I know. It was just about murdering gangs, about promiscuity. You had all the beefs between the West Coast and the East Coast, and it got a lot of people killed. I mean, you look at these rappers like Lil Durk. He was just talking about, I take drugs, but don't take them. And then he's now about to do life because he just killed a bunch of people. And then what's that guy he was glorifying? The guy did took her to the O.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, it was like some famous rapper. He's about he killed he shot a bunch of people in a strip club. Now he's about to do life, and then you have Young Thug out there. He killed a bunch of people. He got freed. I mean, a lot of people are like, free Young Thug, but don't free him in my neighborhood. These people a lot of these rappers are actual killers. They're rapping about stuff they actually live. Like the guy who rapped Took Her to the O. Like he literally rapped stories. Kid something. He rapped stories about stuff he actually did, about people he actually killed. It's just but I may disagree with rap, but I do acknowledge that Kendrick does make a lot of activism rap. I don't think he's necessarily like a rapper who raps a lot about degeneracy. I don't think he's had a bad influence in society. I think he's actually had a positive influence in society. But I do disagree with the genre of rap.
Well, certainly that's a positive, I guess a mixed bag to end on. With that being said, thanks everyone for watching. We really appreciate it. We upload 3 times a week, and you can email us at youthbombs@alatrorepublicans.com. Thanks so much.